small, thin, black and with a superpower. This is the Izyrec Smart Mini recorder, probably one of the smallest and easiest to use recorder on the market. It has a simple and elegant design, a rectangular layout with a rounded corner and edges. The body is made of plastic with a rubberized finish. It is really small and light, measuring 2 by 1.7 by 0.25 inches and weight only 18 grams. To give an example randomly, this is an AA battery and this is a mic. This reduced form factor. There is also space to insert many things. On this side there is a very small physical sliding switch with which to control the microphone, moving it to the left toward the red indicator for automatic mode or to the right toward the white indicator for manual mode through the app. Furthermore, on this side there is a status LED, also very small, which can be deactivated via the app. Then there are the most important component, two microphones, one on this side and the other on the opposite side. On the back there is this small hole to be used to reset the device, and finally there is a USB-C Type-C port for file transfer and charging. As accessories, the microphone is supplied with a magnetic clip. You can wear the microphone using the clip, or you can use it this way to avoid wrinkles on your clothes. Moreover, being magnetic, you can literally stick it to any metal surface. To use it, we must remove the label from the double-side adhesive of a magnet present in the clip, place the clip on the back of a recorder, apply a little pressure, and that's it, more or less. Unfortunately, once installed it never comes off, and so to speak, it's not properly integrated with the device. I must say that this cohesion between the two parts is not very convenient. I don't understand why the magnet isn't already included inside the rear frame, a bit like seen in the AI pin. The design would have been cleaner, but these are personal tastes. However, in addition to the clip, the package included two Velcro stickers, but I have not found a practical application in which to prefer them to the clip or just the microphone without accessories. Inside, we find a very large internal memory, 32 gig. 32 gig may seem like a small amount, but since we are talking about audio files, it's an absurdly large space. It's about 240 hours, which is really quite a bit. They are the equivalent of 10 continuous days. Who talks for 10 days? Nobody. But if these are not enough for you, there are also another version with the double space, 64 gig, which allow double the hour of recording, 480 hours. The 450 mAh battery allow a duration of up to 30 hours of continuous recording and an extraordinary 75 days on standby before needing to be charged again, and it takes just about 2 hours to fully charge. As for the connection, in addition to using the very short USB Type-C Type-A cable, we can connect it to our device via Bluetooth or via Wi-Fi. It's compatible with virtually all platforms and OS, so whatever you want to use, an Android phone or an iPhone or whatever you are working on Windows or Mac, this little guy will work. But how does it work? As mentioned, there are two modes, automatically and manual. The first is very simple to use. Just move the switch to the right and the microphone will immediately start recording autonomously until we decide to stop recording by returning the switch to the central position. Instead, using a manual mode is completely different matter. We must first download the app on our phone, open the app and pair the recorder. I advise you to do it immediately, even if you only want to use use it automatically. In this way, the recorder will synchronize with the time zone of the country we're in, and the file will have the same time zone and simplify the work. To do this, it's very simple. We just need to move the switch to manual mode. We go to the app, add the device, and the app will find the device in a few moments. The app interface is clean, intuitive, and provide a lot of information about the microphone, what we wouldn't be able to have otherwise. At the top left there is the charge status of the recorder and how much time we can still record with the remaining charge. At the bottom there are 3 buttons. On the left we find the home main window where we can find and manage all our recordings. On the right there is the personal center where we find various settings to best set up our Izyrec. We can select a wide choice of scene, the closest environment in which we are going to make the recording, including notes, conference, class, interview and music. We also find the very interesting AI noise cancellation function, very useful if you are in a situation full of background noise. The VAR mode, voice activated recording, which activates the recording when we speak and stops it when you stop speaking, so you don't have a lot of gap in the file. Another interesting thing is the possibility of deactivating the recording LED, so we can record stealthy without our counterpart noticing. Please note that some states may not allow hidden recording to inform yourself before using it. In the test I carried out, the LED turned off only when recording is activated via active voice, otherwise it always remaining on. Then there are the privacy settings, turning off the recording light, turning on scheduling recording, and various recording info like bitrate, audio format, device serial number, and even check whatever any firmware updates have been released and install them if necessary. Finally, in the center, the most important button, the one for recording. Pressing it takes you to a new section of the app where you can start recording. Of course, a question arises: why should I prefer it to my phone? Well, let's see how the Izyrec Smart Mini performs. Start by making a comparison between the audio of the Izyrec, of my microphone that I always use in my videos, the Tronmax M Drill 1 Pro, and the audio of the Xiaomi 12 Pro 5G.
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. A pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper, what is the pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked?
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. A pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper, what is the pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked?
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. A pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper, what is the pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked?
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. A pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper, what is the pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? Without a shadow of doubt, the audio of the Izyrec Smart Mini compared to the audio of the Xiaomi 12 Pro 5G is better, but at the same time it's very far from the clarity of the audio of the Tronmax microphone. The Izyrec, as mentioned, has a very interesting and perhaps the most useful function, the AI for the active detection and the cancellation of the background noise. But how good is this AI? To do this test and understand how well the AI works, I recreated the worst possible background noise situation that could happen.
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. A pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper, where is the pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked?
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. A pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper, where is the pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper. A pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled pepper, where is the pack of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? Well, I was speechless. The noise cancelling function is amazing. It removes most of the background noise even in a borderline situation like this. The voice activated recording mode works well if you are alone and do not have to load background noises. Just start speaking and the recording starts, and if you stop the recording, also stop almost instantly. It's a very convenient function. Unfortunately, in our test we found that if there is any sound above a certain threshold, for example a person speaking in another room, the function shows some uncertainty and the recording does not stop but continues or resumes. This probably happens due to the very wide range of microphones. In fact, the mini recorder can record up to 10 meters away with still acceptable sound quality. This is my voice at 1 meter. This is my voice at 2 meter. This is my voice at 3 meter. This is my voice at 4 meter. This is my voice at 5 meter. This is my voice at 6 meter. This is my voice at 7 meter. This is my voice at 8 meter. This is my voice at 9 meter. This is my voice at 10 meter. Okay, I would never have said it, but it can record up to 10 meter. Of course, the volume is already decreasing at 8 meter, but it can record well up to 10 meter. After using the Izyrec Smart Mini recorder for about a month, I have to say that it was designed for a job and it does that job excellently. Its capabilities make it a very interesting and very useful device, especially in certain areas. I am thinking, for example, of a use at school, but above all when we have to take notes during university lessons, which often last for many hours. For no reason, during which attention can decrease greatly, sometimes disappear completely. The Izyrec Smart Mini then becomes an exceptional device if we combine it with an audio-to-text AI, such as Whisper AI by OpenAI, which transforms any audio file into a text, simplifying our work. But it is also simply very useful for memorizing an idea. Yes, an idea. Perhaps the idea for our next video, because we know ideas can often be good, but at the same time also very volatile, to be used perhaps with the automatic mode, so as not to use the phone. With it perhaps you cannot distract yourself by looking at the notification that arrive. Anyway, would I recommend it as main mic recorder for a content creator? No. From personal experience, it's not qualitative enough, above all at the price of $100 for the 64 gig model. We can find much better microphones. So tell me, what do you think of the Izyrec Smart Mini recorder in the comments. Huge thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe if you want, and see you again next one. Bye!